I'm not gonna lie. Initially, I planned to have a cold open or skit or just something here. But then they made Nate a war criminal for some reason. I genuinely cannot tell if this makes Nate a better or worse protagonist, or if it even changes anything at all. What I do know is that it makes no sense and comes out of complete left field. Did Emil watch my video and make this change purely despite me? Why did you do this? What was the purpose? Why? Was it despite me? Why? What? Please answer. Why did you do this? Good morning, class. Welcome to another episode of I Make Bad Opinions on the Internet. Fallout 3 does not seem to be a particularly well-respected Fallout game, which sucks because it's a solid game. Does it have the immersive writing of New Vegas? No. Does it have the in-depth writing and role-playing options of Fallout 1 or 2? Also, no. Does it have a really solid gameplay engine that makes every violent encounter engaging and fun like Fallout 4? Also, no. Fallout 3 has some really good themes that tend to get absolutely lost in most discussions about this game because so many people focus on all the aspects that other Fallout games do better than it. On almost every level of Fallout 3, you can find one Fallout game that does that part of the game better. 4 has a better gunplay engine. Fallout New Vegas has better writing. Fallouts 1 and 2 have way better world building and immersiveness. Heck, Fallout 76 does exploration better than Fallout 3. Listen, I'm not here to say that Fallout 3 is necessarily the best game ever, but I think it's a good game that most people ignore because it's overshadowed by its worse writing but better playing younger brother, and its distant cousin, which has much better writing and is just a better engine. Honestly, they just it's the same engine, but it's just like made better. Without further ado, please listen to my insane ramblings as I tell you why you should also think Fallout 3 is a good game. Also, why did they make Nate a war criminal? Why is Nate the right canonical? Why? I love The Lone Wanderer. Like, hands down, this is a really cool idea for a protagonist. And I think a lot of this can come from the fact that The Lone Wanderer is the first 3D Fallout protagonist. Well, kinda. Because, you see, the Lone Wanderer is supposed to be the player. New to the Wasteland with no idea what to suspect and tasked with figuring out whether or not the Wasteland will corrupt you. Which I think is an amazing introduction into the Fallout world. The Lone Wanderer is not a protagonist tasked with solving global politics or overarching wars. In fact, we've seen members of the East Coast Brotherhood, which supposedly came from the Wasteland in 2 different Fallout projects now, neither of which, to my knowledge, even mention the Lone Wanderer. Hi, hello, it's Editing AK here. I recorded this and now I realize that I'm pretty sure the Brotherhood in the Fallout show who arrive on the ship may not necessarily be from the East Coast, but I'm pretty dang sure there are. But they might not be. So I might have made a wrong point here, but I'm pretty sure I didn't. Anyway, back to this terrible video I made.
Now, the Lone Wanderer does end up deciding a war, but that's never really the main focus of the game until like the last 5 seconds and the extended campaign. Alright, this game isn't perfect, alright? But rather, the Lone Wanderer is constantly tasked with figuring out whether or not they'll be corrupted by the Wasteland, or if they will be virtuous in despite of it. This often does boil down to very simple moral dilemmas, I mean, literally, the entire main quest line ends with a question of, will you commit genocide or will everyone get a nice cup of fresh water? What a finale! Despite this, I think it's an interesting, if not totally unique take on a post-apocalyptic world. And one of the ways that Fallout 3 actually kind of makes the evil choices you can make pretty good is by rooting them in curiosity. I mean, the stakes in games will always be lower than the stakes in real life, so you have questions when presented with evil choices. What if this bomb blew up? What if I threatened this lady? What if I just started shooting? What if that robot president had a point? Instead of introducing a bunch of questions that are both equally good and equally bad to the Lone Wanderer, Fallout 3 constantly roots its questions in a path of goodness or a path of curiosity. And of course, as players, there's a lot more incentive to be evil when that's rooted in curiosity. The story of the Lone Wanderer is constantly one of questions of convenience, curiosity, or contentment. Will the Lone Wanderer forgive the dwellers of 101 despite their constant betrayal, prejudice, and ingratitude? Will they forgive their father for all the harm he inadvertently caused in pursuit of the higher good? Will they forgive the capital waste which speaks only one language? Violence. The Lone Wanderer is fundamentally not asked about who they deem worthy of inheriting a wasteland. They're asked whether the wasteland is even worthy of existence. The wasteland treats the Lone Wanderer extremely cruelly, in many ways much more cruelly than a lot of other protagonists. And they're fundamentally asked, despite all that, is it worthy of survival? I think a lot of people miss that when talking about Fallout 3. Despite not having an overarching political crisis or war.
Hi, it's editing, AK. Again, I want to explain something. I know there is a war in this game, but it's like for the last 5 minutes of the game, calm down. And also, the actual major war that goes on for most of this game is a war against super mutants, in which the story never really addresses. Okay? I know there are wars in this game, but they're definitely not the focus of it. Alright, cool, bye.
It really does task the player with preventing or causing a second apocalyptic event, much like how Fallout 1 and 2 does. I genuinely find the Lone Wanderer as perhaps the most interesting Fallout protagonist, at least of the Bethesda era. Because they're the type of guy who never settles down. Not even by choice necessarily. They are constantly rejected or treated as an outsider, wherever they go. No matter how good or evil the Lone Wanderer is, they will always be rejected by the dwellers of 101 and forced to give their life at the end of the game. Or just choose not to, or get yelled at by the narrator for choosing to let someone who's not gonna die go in. Yeah, they really bungled this ending, okay? And I don't know why. They could have just made it so that there's no one else able to go in there other than the Lone Wanderer. That would have fit the game's themes way better, to force you to actually, sacrifice yourself. Or, as the Wasteland forces you to sacrifice yourself, get one up on them and just kill everyone. That would have worked way better with the themes. I can't get distracted. This is supposed to be a positive video. The Lone Wanderer is by far one of the most slept on Fallout protagonists. I know there's like 8 of them in total, but I'm gonna say he's the most slept on. Walking through the bombed out ruins of Maryland and DC is a feeling in Fallout 3 that none of the other Fallouts have given me. I've heard people get annoyed that Fallout 3 is a very easy game, which yes, it is. It is not a difficult game by any means. But guess what? I like power fantasies sometimes. They can be fun. And that's the beautiful simplicity of the Lone Wanderer. They're just so much fun. You can be an absolute unrepentant, unnecessary a-hole this entire game just because. Why pick big guns? Because it's so much fun. The Lone Wanderer is such an open-ended protagonist that he becomes one of the funnest in the entire Fallout franchise. Because you can do anything with him. They're just a kid from a vault. Want to be comically evil? Go for it. Want to be a paragon of virtue? Go right ahead. Fallout 3 shoves the Lone Wanderer, and by extension the player, who this might be the first Fallout game they're ever playing, into the horrific world of the Wasteland, and just lets them have fun in it. And I love it. It's not a perfect game, but I still love it.
The karma system in Fallout 3 is great. Of course, the faction reputation and companion affinity system in New Vegas and 4 respectively is far better developed and more nuanced. Counterpoint, Fallout 3 doesn't do nuance. The entire story revolves around this dichotomy between a path of corruption and a path of virtue. While a faction or companion reputation system would certainly produce more morally complex questions, it would be in complete opposition to the binary themes of Fallout 3. By having this very binary karma system, Fallout 3 allows the game to track and react to your chosen path in a way that fits really well with the game's themes. For all its faults, most egregiously probably being its very basic sense of morality and its entire lack of nuance, the karma system does a really good job of clearly integrating the game's themes into the gameplay, and allowing the player and characters to engage with those themes. It also allows characters to interact with the Lone Wanderer in relation to his karma level without necessarily having to know exactly what he's done out in the wasteland. The only time I ever felt bad, in fact, doing an evil playthrough in Fallout 3 was because I was being rewarded for being bad. It wasn't anything I actually did. I blew a megaton, poisoned the capital's water supply, no problem. But whenever the slavers at Paradise Falls started congratulating me, cheering me on, and being afraid of me, I felt bad. I felt like that shouldn't be happening. And that was the only time I ever felt bad while playing evil through Fallout 3. That sentence worked really well. That was the only time I ever felt genuinely bad about doing evil stuff in Fallout 3, because the characters were able to react to my negative karma and treat me as such. And it doesn't feel good for slavers to be praising you. Speaking of being evil, Fallout 3 does not get enough credit for its evil path, essentially. Want to explode an entire town for like 200 caps, even though it's objectively easier and more beneficial not to? We got a quest for that. Want to carelessly lead to the death of a tower of slightly rich folk for no reason? Go right ahead! Want to condemn the entirety of the capital waste to certain death because a robot president politely asked you to? That's perfectly fine! Go for it! Want to enslave pretty much anyone in the capital waste for just a couple of caps? We got a quest for that. Seriously, this is not a profitable business. When it comes to a studio like Obsidian's game design, they focus a lot on gray morality and nuance, which is fine. But it means a lot of the times you can't revel in a comic level of villainy. Most endings or choices have some underlying righteous idea behind it. You do it for a purpose. I did a lot of stuff in my evil playthrough of The Outer Worlds, where I went full corporate, but the ending slides were relatively positive and weirdly wholesome for the amount of slaughter I did of innocent people. Because their game design revolves around this idea that there's no good choices, and even if you choose perhaps the worst choice, it's still viewed as a bad option, and therefore kind of equally as acceptable as any of the other bad options. Perhaps not as equally as acceptable, but fundamentally all endings and choices are supposed to be oriented towards some system of morality and towards some good other than just your most base instincts. That being said, a studio like Obsidian also really loves their Genocide playthroughs, which are fine. But the problem is, since that's the most evil path doesn't really engage with the writing a lot. It really only engages with the gameplay mechanics and never really character building or world building. It's all just kinda shoot the person and then move on with your life. A lot of the times they simply don't have evil for the sake of having fun. Of course, that's not always true. Plenty of examples of that throughout their games, but out of the 2 Obsidian games I've played, it's never been like a consistent plotline that you can follow like it is in Fallout 3. Listen, man, in real life, not a fan of slavery. I know. That hack, Tommy J, should be replaced by the base John Brown on that stolen mountain we had. But in-game of Fallout 3, I mean, what else are you gonna do with Arkansas? He serves no other purpose. I like being able to be this comic villain in games. And Fallout 3 is really good at letting you be a fun, evil person and still engage with the writing and the gameplay. And because of its setup with the Lone Wanderer, it doesn't feel weird. And then not weird. Why did they make Nate a war criminal? Why? I love the way this game sounds. Do not ask me why. I do not know. The sound design in this game just scratches my brain in just such a good way. I cannot explain it. Just the gun firing sounds, all of the noises the Pip-Boy makes. It's just really good. And I love it. And it makes me happy. That's it. That's the entire section. I have nothing else to say. It's bad and it's dated. I know Fallout 3 Gunplay is all of those things. I know New Vegas took the engine and made it better. I know that the lack of iron sights in the game is incredibly stupid and can make the game infuriating to play. I know that the range of weapons, especially when it comes to something like pistols, is incredibly limited and can oftentimes just feel restrictive for the build you're trying to play. I know that the bullet tracers look absolutely nothing like bullets. Seriously, these things are lasers, right? Like, I'm not the only one. There's no way these are bullets. These are lasers. But honestly, I love it for that. It's a really bad system that makes me fall in love with it. It's like an old TV show that has all the faults of its time, and that just makes it perfect. I like the gunplay for the same reasons I like something like Mitchell. It's just fun. Sure, it's stupid. Sure, it's outdated. Sure, there's much better versions of it. But at the end of the day, it's still just fun to play. Much like the sound design, I can't really tell you why I like the gunplay in this game so much. No further comments, I can't. The only thing I can say tangibly is that I really like that laser weapons are actually very effective in this game. In later entries, the standard laser rifle and laser pistol really kinda fell victim to nerfing. I don't like that. Make energy weapons great again. It's the greatest thing Fallout 3 ever did, and I need the new games to understand how much I love the laser rifle. Seriously, please make it usable again. Please. I love it.
Hey, fun fact, did you know that like every settlement in Fallout 3 has bathrooms? This is a weird point, but the settlements in Fallout 3 just slap. I know there's some people who really don't like Megaton because why would you build a town around an active nuclear warhead? And yeah, it's stupid, but also, it looks sick AF. Also, the creator does allow for some protection from being immediately spotted by possible ne'er-do-wells, so yeah, it's still pretty stupid, but Megaton just looks really cool, so I'm gonna ignore its flaws because it is awesome. Paradise Falls is cool and makes total sense. Of course, one of the biggest settlements in the Capital Waste would be a slaver operation. What other goods would they produce? I mean, the water's super irradiated. It's not like you could just kind of grow crops. Wouldn't that not make sense? Anyways, Rivet City just rocks. I will always love reused non-housing structures being used as cities in apocalypse games. I love Rivet City. It's so cool. I really like this type of settlement. Arafu is strange, but it's in a prominent position on this freeway. I really like it. And it has a really interesting story and pretty unique around it. So that is a plus for that settlement. Canterbury Commons seems like an actual trading town. Like, it makes sense that there are traders passing through there. Sure, it's not really the geographic center of the map, which would make it more sense.
make it more sense. It would make more sense if it was at the geographic center, but like it feels like a trading town. You can find traders there super consistently, assuming you've dealt with the problems. And all the characters talk like the city centered around trade. And it has an interesting story and looks like it could be a trading town. Seriously, these settlements in Fallout 3 are the best I've seen in the 3D Fallouts. Also, the Republic of Dave is just awesome. I love this quirky little place, and it feels like the single most realistic settlement I've seen in like any Fallout game. Seriously, like the Republic of Dave sounds exactly like how I'd imagine a settlement would exist after nuclear fallout. It's cool, okay? I love it. It's quirky. Exploring this game's locations is awesome, and I love how unique, logical, and interesting each settlement is. Something which a certain later game would completely fail at, for the most part. So, while Fallout 3's world building is not the greatest, New Vegas has it dead to rights on that. The way its settlements are constructed is really interesting, and really does remind me a lot more of Fallout 1 or 2 than New Vegas or 4 does, or 76. Not that there's many settlements in 76. Anyways, settlements are cool in Fallout 3. I love them. They're my little babies. That was weird. I don't know why I said that. I think I'm going insane. I love all settlements. The Republic of Dave is literally the best settlement ever. If Bethesda does not canonize the fact that Republic of Dave will eventually conquer the Brotherhood of Steel, I'm gonna commit a terrorism.
I wanted to make a point about how I think it's a shame Fallout 3 has been mostly forgotten. But I also felt like for the longest time I had no actual way to back that up. I mean, other than the fact that I never really saw anyone talking about it. Then, the Fallout show came out, and people started getting into the Fallout franchise. And Fallout 3 was crushed by its brothers. And I mean crushed. At the time of writing this script, it is being outpaced immensely by 76, 4, and New Vegas. Like, Fallout 3 only has 5,000 more players on Steam than Fallout 2 as of the 1st of May. Yeah, it took me a while to record this, leave me alone. And that's really a shame, because Fallout 3 has some really solid bones. But, to be fair, they were not well meatified. I've made my criticisms of the main quest line, and I stand by that. Its main quest line kinda sucks. It fails to properly integrate the themes of the game, de-incentivizes exploration, and is kind of the worst thing Fallout 3 has to offer. But most everything surrounding it is very solid. In that way, it's a lot like Fallout 4. But rather than learning from the eldest Bethesda Fallout title, the Fallout series just seems to have kind of forgotten about it. I want to see another game like Fallout 3. In my opinion, I genuinely think Fallout 4 should have been more like Fallout 3. 4's pale imitation of New Vegas' questline is really my main criticism of it. Fallout 3 is not perfect, and I understand why it's fallen behind its younger brothers and older aging ancestors. And truthfully, I don't think it's ever going to achieve the cult status of the old games. But it's good. It's a good introduction into the series. It's fun. Its mechanics are nowhere near as awful as some people would have you believe, and its world outside of the main questline is super fun to explore. All in all, it's just a pretty good game. I love Fallout 3. It's a good game, and I don't understand why that is such a controversial take. If you don't like it, that's okay, that's fine. Slay Monarch. But I think there's a lot of good ideas, themes, and stories out there in the Capital Wasteland. Yes, this is undercut in many ways by a subpar main quest, but I do not find that it particularly takes away the good outside of it. If you like Fallout and haven't done so, go play Fallout 3. It's fun, I swear.
Now go touch grass.